Liberty, our topic last week, is not enough. We don't seek liberty for all, we seek liberty and justice for all. Getting justice is getting what we deserve. It is fairness. If we are going to have a government, and we are, then part of providing welfare is ensuring that people are not treated unjustly, that they're not harmed through no fault of their own. One of the biggest ideas in political philosophy is justice. And perhaps the biggest thinker about justice in the last century is John Rawls. So Rawls on justice is our big idea today. We're pretty much stuck with the government we have. Still, if we could just find a way of agreeing about the government we would like to have, then we would at least have a true north on our compass to help us find a way to get from here to there. Instead of just marching and jumping up and down with signs, we would also have a framework for conducting the kind of conversation that is so important in a deliberative democracy. That's one of the reasons we keep going back to the state of nature thought experiment. But as we have seen, it allows for so many variables that its usefulness is limited. Is there a more productive way of framing our deliberations? Let's start with a trick that you know if you've ever supervised two kids sharing one piece of cake. One of them, call her Eve, gets to cut, and the other one, call him Adam, gets to choose. It works because of two elements. Eve, as the cutter, is self-interested, so she wants the biggest possible piece, but Eve is also impartial, since she's ignorant about which piece she will get. One rare case in which ignorance is not such a bad thing. She suspects, of course, that if she cuts them unequally, then Adam will do what she would do. He would take the bigger piece. So owing to impartial self-interest, she cuts them equally. Now imagine that you take them by surprise after the final piece has already been cut unequally, and Adam has just grabbed it. One thing you can do is make it a teachable moment. Okay, kids, that's not really fair. But Mom, it is fair because I'm bigger and so I deserve a bigger piece. Nope, I want you to think about how you would have cut it if it hadn't already been cut. With a little luck, Adam and Eve may see that impartial self-interest can open a window into fairness, that it can serve as a basis for understanding justice. In this way, Rawls does what Mom would have done. Now, the state of nature already captures the self-interest element. What could a government do for me? But it does not capture impartiality. If I were in the state of nature and could vote by secret ballot, maybe I would favor forming a government that treats preferentially all white, able, cis-male philosophers with Southern accents who wear glasses. So this is what Rawls corrects. Imagine that you have to make decisions about the principles that will structure your government. But, like Adam and Eve, you do not know in advance how those principles are going to affect you. In Rawls' phrasing, imagine that you are behind the veil of ignorance. You're ignorant about all those things that in today's society seem to penalize people through no fault of their own. Things that result in unfairness. So you don't know your race, your sex, your wealth, your social status, your level of education. You don't even know what you are good at or what you want out of life, except for what we all want out of life, the freedom and the opportunity and the resources to pursue what you want out of life. So like a juror, you know what you need to know in order to reach an impartial decision. Only after you make your decision is the veil of ignorance lifted, revealing how big your piece of cake is actually going to be. Rawls thinks that, like Eve's even-Steven cake choice, your choice behind the veil of ignorance would be for a government that gives everyone equal liberty and equal opportunity. Except there is one exception. Increasing opportunity for those with certain abilities can be better for everyone. If, for example, Eve is a math whiz, providing her with special educational opportunities might produce technological advancements that we are all happy about. Rawls thinks that you, while behind this veil, would go for this sort of inequality. It wouldn't give you a smaller piece, and it might make it larger. So he allows for it. That's what he calls the difference principle. But only if it helps those who are otherwise worst off. These rules for deliberative democracy have three simple, elegant features. First, they're practical. You can look at any law or any governmental institution, and we now have a way of discussing it. Does it provide everyone with the same freedoms and the same opportunities, unless exceptions to it harm nobody and benefit the worst off? And if not, how can we fix it? Second, there's no moral grandstanding, judgment, or recriminations. They are, after all, based strictly on self-interest that's been neutralized. And best of all, they happen to map onto what we really think justice is. The biggest kid will still try to grab more cake. Injustice will continue. In the very long run, said Martin Luther King, the arc of the moral universe bends towards justice. The big idea for this week is that maybe there are constructive things we can do to hasten that bend.